Let's go.
Well, also, you went live too early. It flags us when we go live too early from the stock music for
really?
from streaming.
Oh, well. StreamYard. Let's roll.
This episode of the Off-Road Podcast is sponsored by Warren, Medical Gear Outfitters, and Colby Valve.
Off-Road Podcast, episode 375, Rogue Element.
Tonight, Aaron gets stuffy, Jeremy plans for disaster, and Ben comes back alive.
It's a miracle. Welcome to the Off-Road Podcast, a podcast about everything off-road. We cover the news, review products, and interview people in the off-road industry. Your hosts tonight are Jeremy, and my name is Ben, and our guest tonight is Jeff from Rogue Element, and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here.
Yeah.
The Weekend Review is brought to you by Medical Gear Outfitters. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting to have a casualty on the trail? Check out medicalgearoutfitters.com to get straightened out. Medical Gear Outfitters has everything you need, whether you're going out for the day or traveling on a year-long expedition. Head over there to get off-road specific kits that meet all of your needs. And while you're there, make sure you use Off-Road Podcast for 10% off. Maybe this is just best left for the episode that you recap your trip in, but did you have to use your medical kit while you're out there, Ben?
No, I didn't. I actually was just going to be like, I didn't need it. I didn't need it all.
I think our friend has been replaced. I don't know. He's been on too many trips and hasn't needed medical attention afterwards. So,
yeah, but invasion of the body snatchers. I am sore. I'll give you that much. I am sore. But that's just from having too much fun.
Maybe you've just finally grown up. It took you long enough.
No, I've never grown up, man. I'm too much of a little kid.
Well, Ben, what have you been up to?
Well, I just got back from Christmas Valley, and I had a blast. So much fun. We are going to do a recap episode, but it won't be like till November when Coy gets back from his next trip. Because we're just booked up, and so yeah. But just some sneak peeks here is I did have fun. I did do dune stuff, and I didn't break anything, and I didn't die. So
no airbags deployed.
No airbags deployed whatsoever. And you know what else I did?
Not jump it like you told us you were going to the first time we were going to Christmas Valley when you backed out last minute, and we were just all thinking that you were afraid of jumping your rig.
I did jump my rig a couple times and my trailer.
But there's no video of that?
No. I didn't jump it hard. I just bounced down rutted roads where literally
you jump it hard.
No.
That's never the plan.
Yeah. And I made friendship bracelets because Aaron wasn't there. Coy has one too.
Wow.
Yeah. I know. I can't grow up.
You stole Aaron's boyfriend.
Yep. And we had so much pumpkin spice fun. Like,
oh God.
Yeah. Oh, we had, pumpkin spice is the man's spice right there, man. I'm just saying we had pumpkin spice pretzels and pumpkin spice oatmeal. And milkshakes. So yeah.
So when Aaron goes on the trip, he brings a number 10 tin of nacho cheese. And when you go on a trip, you just get lots of pumpkin spice. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we did have fondue. But besides that, I've just been cleaning out the trailer. I did break some things that I've got to fix on the
trailer.
On the trailer.
Well, maybe it's because you have just a normal teardrop trailer, and I don't think those are jump rated.
No, actually, it wasn't from the jump. It was just from stuff rattling around and weight shifting when it shouldn't have, and it fell and hit a soft piece of plastic and went through the butt of the trailer. And then
you can tell us more about it when you on the actual show.
Yeah. Other than that, I've got the dude coming out for my quote for my shop tomorrow. Very excited for that. And then I've got my wife's also shopping for trailers because she saw McCoy's what is that off-road brand tent trailer? Rockwell Rock something?
Rockwood.
Rockwood. There we go. So we're gonna she's found one that she's got me going to look at because she wants a little more space besides a king size bed on wheels. So yeah. What about you, Jeremy?
I'm just planning for basically the same trip I took last weekend. Not this last weekend. Sorry, the weekend before last. So we're gonna see if I can do a camping trip with a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old by myself, and that might open up the possibility for some more trips.
So this is this next weekend?
Yeah, Friday night.
Friday night, just for the night?
Yeah. We're gonna do it the exact same way. We're gonna go on a single overnighter to the local state park.
Are you gonna stay in the afternoon? Are you going in the morning, or are you staying during Saturday during the day, or just overnight and then leaving in the morning?
Overnight and leaving sometime in the morning. Why? Are you thinking you're coming out?
I was thinking of just popping over to say hi to you for a little bit.
I mean, you can always come Friday night.
Actually, I will have the boys, so I could. Maybe I'll come see you.
And maybe we can go wheel a little.
Yeah, that'd be a possibility. I still don't have skid plates, but I do like to live in dangerous conditions.
You need to get those welded up and put on.
I still don't have skid plates.
I hear you an echo. Ben, is that you?
No, it's me.
Oh, okay.
I fixed it.
Got it.
That it for you, Jeremy?
That's it.
Jeff, what about you? Doing anything exciting this last week?
Oh, I got this mic working, by the way. It was my error. No. Where did I do this last week? Oh, I went hunting up in Oregon. It was miserable. We didn't see shit. Hiked for like 50 miles, and then I broke my truck. And before that, I broke my phone, so I'm locked out of my personal Instagram account, which sucks, and I can't get any help for it because Meta is absolutely worthless. Other than that, came back. I'm still editing this whole series still. I've got my buddy Matthew. He's up in Redmond, Oregon. He's editing the first episode. I'm doing the other two. So it's just a matter of going back through and fine tuning and watching it over and over again and looking for errors and fixing sound and fixing errors here and there. It's just time consuming as all hell. And then
I know
tomorrow. What's that?
I said I know nothing of that.
Yeah, it's a real pain in the ass. You're not missing a whole lot, really. It's a lot of work. It's fun. Like I like the creative side more than I do. I mean, shooting it is really fun. We have a blast shooting it, but this side, even though it's a shitload of work, it's really fun. It's kind of like watching a child grow. I mean, it's like you went out and shot it. You get to relive the whole thing again and then see stuff you didn't see because, the camera guys are around everywhere and they're shooting stuff that, you normally don't see. Like I could be like loading my rig up and then they're filming something else that's going on. And I totally missed it because I was doing something else. But then when I'm watching it here, I get to relive it. And there's some like, I don't know if you guys saw the scene where I poured gas all over myself and somehow, I don't know how I did it, but I fell down. I was trying to like get away from the gas spilling out and my foot got stuck in a crack of the concrete. And I just like did this weird ninja roll out of it. And I'm a big dude. So it's just, I mean, we were dying laughing, watching it at camp that night. But, I didn't get to see it, until like I really sat down. I was like, what happened? I relived, I was trying to figure out what happened. I mean, it's just a crap jerry can that just didn't hold the threads on the spout. It just popped off. And so I thought it was my fault. I thought I screwed up, but it turns out it's just a crappy, product that I bought last minute and I shouldn't have. But no, it's a lot of work, man. And that's kind of where I've been right in front of this screen for the last 2 months, basically just editing, doing everything. Plus I've got clients that I'm doing stuff for with my media company. So I'm doing that. I'm trying to travel as little as possible. I got 3 kids. So I'm doing, I literally 20 minutes ago just got done with the soccer practice with my oldest son. And So yeah, but this weekend I'm taking my kid out on his first hunting trip. He's 6, so we're going up into the Sierra Nevadas, and hopefully the weather is a little bit cooler there. I mean, it's cool here, but I live in the Bay Area, so it's usually about 20 degrees cooler than the rest of the state. But we'll go up high around 8,000 feet in elevation and camp out for 4 days or so, and then after that I have to head to Montana, and because I'm getting a skinny guy camper put on my truck.
Nice.
So pretty stoked. That's it. That's all I've been doing lately. Before that, it was just filming and having fun. So now it's work time.
Yeah, editing podcasts. I know that all too well. Like looking for little timestamps here and there, and it's like at least when we're recording like this, it's easier to be like, oh, there's one, and I can write it down. I can't imagine trying to do that while you're filming it all, and it's like
you figure
rewatch that footage over and over and over again.
Yeah, it gets to a point where you don't want to watch it anymore. So when it's really finally done, you're just like, good, I'm moving on. But
Yeah,
like the first like couple like rough drafts, you pull out to have people look at and give you criticism, or like, hey, find some errors for me. And I've got about 6 people that do that for me. But that's when you're excited. You're like, cool, man, I can't wait to see what other people think of it. And like, I'm forcing my wife to watch it, and she's like, okay, cool. She doesn't get into it as much as like we do, but I think the most stoked I've been is seeing the first preview of all, like, it's only 1 minute and 30 seconds long or something like that, but seeing it like all together, all 3 episodes, and like some of the coolest shots taken out of it and stuff, it like really gives it life. And you're like, whoa, holy cow, we just did that. And then having other people like text and be like, dude, that was like crazy good. Because the biggest thing with this project, like, I've had other stuff on Amazon, like Brotherhood of Brew. That was our first show that we did, like full length show that went on Amazon, and we won a bunch of film festivals, and that's how we were found out. And it was cool, but it had a really tiny budget. I mean, this one did too, but that took it was a lot of work. I mean, it was a lot of fun doing it. We had a blast, but it was like one of those learn what not to do situations. And this one, even though we kind of threw ourselves into the fire, we had it well scripted. We knew what we were doing. We did have to take a couple trips to get some like pickup stuff, but it's like watching it like this one, it's on another level. Just watching it now that I have it refined, like you guys didn't get to see the refined version. It's a lot's changed, and we buttoned it up, and then once it goes into color grade, that's when it like takes its life. Because you guys saw like a gray version, and there's no color, it's not popping. And then now that it does that, it's just like, whoa, this looks really good. And then you see it on a 70-inch TV, and then you're like, whoa, it's even better. And this 30-inch screen I have here in front of me. But it's it's cool to watch that grow, that process grow. But yeah, we had a podcast at one point, and I just gave up on it because the pandemic kind of ruined it. It was that's a pain in the ass, editing, especially because you're not watching like video, you're just watching wavelengths.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. Some guy driving by my house or my studio, it's loud as hell. I don't know if you guys heard that.
Yep, we heard it.
Yeah. I have a kind of a busy street out here. This is actually a little studio behind my house that I kind of took over and made it my studio. I just haven't finished it yet. We just moved in a couple months ago. That was weird.
That was weird. It sounded like you were getting abducted by aliens or something over there.
Yeah, he did. Some probing going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's been a labor of love, but it's been a blast. This crew that we just, that I started working with, it's a new crew I've never worked with before. Different than my Brotherhood of Brew one. And Evan Pollock, who I brought on with Pollock Pictures, he partnered with us on this. I pitched him this idea. Oh man, back in December, I think it was November or December, as we started throwing this around. We were filming by January 25th, I think. The dude's the shit. He's a very, very talented filmmaker, and a guy him behind the camera. He's technically like a co-director, and he's a director of photography of this, and he just gave it a life that I never thought it was going to go to. I knew it was going to be good. It's something, it took me 2 years to come up with this. 2 years of pandemic, basically all of 2020. we found out we were having our third kid 2 weeks before the pandemic started. And so my wife is a little bit of a germaphobe. So she was like, this really put her into outer space as far as not wanting to get sick or anything like that. So I basically sat on the couch. Plus I was injured, and I had a torn rotator cuff at the time and didn't know it. And so I wasn't doing a whole lot. So I just sat down. I was watching Motor Trend. I was watching YouTube, basically anything motorsports, and trying to find leaks, like what's missing. And we like to overland. We like to off-road, whatever you want to call it. And I was like, okay, what's missing? And, we've done projects with Expedition Overland, with Brotherhood of Brew. We've done other crews and things like that. We have our own YouTube channel that really wasn't going anywhere at the time. And I was like, shit, I have like 30 something terabytes of footage I've never used. It's just sitting on hard drives. I might as well just start editing it, making our own stuff, and then try to think of something that came up during that time, like that sparked my interest. So I just got this ledger pad and started writing notes on it. And every time I saw something that was missing or that I liked out of something, I'd write like pros and cons. And it got to where I went through about 4 of those legal pads.
Wow.
And just had all these notes in like about a year that I'd been doing it. And then I started like storyboarding, like trying to figure out, okay, where do I want to go with this? And I text one of my guys in Rogue Element, Christian or Steve, or you guys probably seen. What's that?
Let's stop you there before we get, and then we'll jump into the main topic here in a minute.
Yeah, no problem. How you going, man?
I know. And that weird noise was my compressor kicking on because I was using it earlier today and it decided to kick on.
We also want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Patch. Head over to patriotpatch.co and check out their selection of great patches, shirts, cleaning mats, signs, and stickers. You can also join the Patch of the Month Club for $15 and receive a patch, matching sticker, and artist proof each month.
So, Jeremy, do you remember what the Halloween patch was last year?
Was it the werewolf?
Yeah, it was a werewolf. This year, it's some witching with some witching rifles. What do you think?
I like it.
It reminds me of what was it? I Dream of Jean. No, not what was the witch one?
Bewitched.
There we go. Bewitched in like a hocus pocusy witch almost. So yeah, and then also can't forget about these: the Off-Road Podcast patch and the Lumen Locker patch. They can be yours. $13 shipped from us here in the U.S. to you in the U.S. And $10 for any additional patches. Or you can pick them up in person for $10. Just shoot us a message, and if you're out of the country, I can still ship them to you, but I'll just have to go get a quote and figure that up. And we've got a PayPal link set up that I can send to you. And the Lumen Locker patch does glow in the dark.
Have tire troubles ever left you deflated? Colby Valve has got you covered. Ever have a valve stem leak? Colby Valve makes reusable and easily replaceable valve stems that don't require you to remove your tire from the wheel. They work with your off-road rig, ATV, side-by-side, commuter vehicle, or even your tractor. Never be left stranded again because of a busted valve stem. They also have a tire repair kit for those punctures that keep you away from doing your favorite thing, wheeling. Make sure to check out colbyvalve.com or ask for them at your local off-road products store.
Well, the first news article we have is from Motor Authority, and it's talking about Ford filing some patents to integrate some sand ladders into different parts of the vehicle. So Ben's flipping through the photo. So there's this one photo of it essentially being a running board. There's some more areas later on where it's on the hood.
That's in the frunk.
In the frunk, sorry. Yes, in the frunk. And then also in the grill area, in a couple spots in the grill area, and then on tube doors. I don't know. I like to see innovation, but I don't know that that's one I'm interested in, especially not the running boards.
the running boards to me seems like a great idea for like a farm truck, and that's about where it stops. Because if it's an off-road rig, now you're damaging your running boards because you think they're sliders, but really they're not, and like they detach from the vehicle. Now you've got some brackets that are hanging down that are going to get damaged instead because they are attached to the body and not the frame. So, yeah.
And the thing with like those is that's like the number one common place you get hung up on a rig.
Yeah.
So how are you going to pull it out and help yourself when it's stuck?
And they also hang down pretty low. I mean, I'm sure that they'd refine that as if they actually ran it out to production, but
Oh, there's going to be someone's grandpa who wants them lowered down because they want them to be usable as a step. Now, the grill one, I don't hate it. I really don't. But like, that's only one, maybe two.
they
if
might
you
be
just-
stacked two in there. I don't
Yeah.
know. I think there's more elegant ways to mount them. I think if I had to pick any of these, I'd probably pick the inside the frunk.
Yeah.
Just because they don't have to be in sight the whole time.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're using them on a rig that's a little bit more built up, there's much better spots to mount them than any of the spots that they've come up with.
Yeah.
For the top rig.
And being that these are with the having a frunk, I imagine these are mostly aimed towards like the Ford Lightning. So the future of the F series, and probably the tube doors being the Bronco series. So yeah, it's interesting. It's nice to see innovation, or at least the attempt at it. It's annoying that they're like, all right, we got patent this, so no one else can do it. But the aftermarket will provide if people like it.
I don't think the aftermarket's going to provide that, but
And then our next story here is from Jalopnik, and it's the final edition of the FJ is finally happening, but it's in the Middle East because we lost it here in the States in 2014, or was it 16? One of those years, and but there's only going to be 1,000 to be made. So they're going to fly for millions and billions because it's the Middle East, and that's what they like to do with their money, is spend it on vehicles and then park them forever. But it could spark the next generation that we might see here in the States or Japan with an EV variant, like the one we saw in a Toyota's, what was it? Toyota's like concept vehicle artwork they did a couple years ago or last year. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. Just because they're finally going to stop FJs completely.
such a shame.
Yep.
I wish they never got rid of the FJ.
I know. Yep. But who knows? It might bring something cool now.
It probably won't. I'm pretty pessimistic today.
Yeah, you
I don't know
are.
what that's about.
Especially if you really take into account to like the road Toyota has gone for the last like 10 years. They really haven't innovated a whole lot, and they've ruined a bunch of, like the Supra is terrible. If you're comparing it to the last one that they made, which was like king of Toyotas, and disc brakes on a $65,000 rig, rear discs or rear drum brakes on like a TRD Pro. I mean, it blows my mind. Like the backwards innovation that they're doing, not enough horsepower in almost everything. The Tundra's okay, but it's so lackluster. And I mean, I'm a bit of a Toyota hater, but and a lot of it just has to do with like the fanboys that go around it just drive me absolutely batshit crazy. They're worse than Ford guys. But yeah, I was just like, I was so excited. I was hoping to, the new Tundra would, do something. But I mean, they really need to bring an FJ something back. I think that would like really help it. Maybe something square body, something really cool that as a throwback to like the 60 or 61. That would be badass. I'm waiting.
We'll keep holding our breaths and waiting, right?
Go prepared with Warren Industries. They produced the first recreational winch in 1959 and lead the industry with their dedication to quality and reliability. When you dig yourself in deep, make sure you have the right tools to get yourself out. Get Warren equipped and go where others can't. Now, let's get ready for adventure and head into our main topic.
Warren Winches, recovering your buddy's stuck Toyota Tundra since, well, always, because he got stuck and I pulled him out.
Yeah, now if only you can get them to actually weld up your skid plates so you can install those things. You should have charged them that.
You know what? Actually, on our way back, we were talking back and forth about that, and I may be going up there in the next couple weeks.
I think you've said that probably about 100 times now. How long have you owned those skid plates but not been able to install them because they're not welded?
About 2 years.
I think it's been longer.
I don't know. Well, one day they'll get done, and then we'll have to find something else to make fun of not being done.
There's always going to be something for you.
You mean like the bump stops that I really could have used?
You still don't have those installed too?
Yep. All right. Now on to the main topic.
Hold on. Your bump stops aren't installed inside the spring, if I recall correctly. So it's like your bump stop should be easy to install.
Yeah, it just requires time and patience, which I have none.
Not that much time, and honestly, not a whole lot of patience because you could just cut the old ones out of there if you got impatient.
Yeah, I know.
Just take the knife.
Yep. On to the main topic here. And so, Jeff, I like to start this off with the Fast 5 facts to really let our listeners get an idea of you and new or old vehicle.
Both.
You got to pick one.
Oh, I thought you meant what do I own? Old, always.
All right. Summer or winter camping?
Winter. I'm a walrus, dude. We don't like the heat.
Right there with you. Rock, sand, snow, or mud?
Ooh, shit. Snow.
Snow wheeling's always fun. Favorite vehicle brand?
Mopar.
And favorite tire?
BFG. KO2s.
Oh man, another for the BFG crew. You know, we almost should have like a tally board somewhere with like what people pick for tires because BFG is like the number one there.
It's a really tough one. I've had more BFGs than I've had anything. Yokohama Geolanders are probably a really close second. Those MTs are the shit.
Yeah, I know.
They're bulletproof.
I know Andy Lowenthal, he likes the Geolanders too.
Good old Andy. I know Andy. Good guy.
Yep.
Warren dude. He likes those little cars.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Little fake micro machines from Japan.
Yeah, I don't know why he likes those so much. So how did you get started?
How did I get into it? I was born into it, to be completely honest. I learned how to drive in a 52 lifted Willys pickup with a 350 Chevy in it on 35s. That was like my first introduction to actually learning how to drive a truck. It was a stick shift and started on my stepdad's lap and then eventually was tall enough to actually like push the clutch in myself. But that's like the first thing I drove. But my uncle, who kind of helped raise me, has been into off-roading as long as I'm known. He's a Navy guy, and every time he came home from overseas, he was buying something new, and he's had Grand Wagoneers on 40s. I helped him build a Jeep J10, 77 J10. We just got done restoring a CJ7. I bought his 79 Scout 2, and I was going to fully restore it and everything, but I came across the 85 Grand Wagoneer that I have right now, and it kind of took precedence, and I had nowhere to park the Scout. And plus, it's because of the year, you have to smog it. It's just a real pain in the ass here in California. So I sold it to a friend, and he's restoring it. And I am now doing a resto mod on a 85 Grand Wagoneer that we're doing a 5.7 Hemi swap in.
Nice.
Actually, I just got a text about an hour ago that it's done at paint.
Nice.
Yeah, that's been a fun one. It's been a real pain in the ass to build a car during the pandemic, though. I mean, I'm on month 13 for a transmission adapter, so I can put a 4L80E trans on a Hemi.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't have to wait quite that long, but it took a while to get some axles in.
Okay.
Axles I got right away. They're easy. That was been the one easy part. Actually, the two toughest parts. Shocks on both rigs. I waited 10 months to get my King 3.0s and 2.5s for my Power Wagon, but it was almost an equal weight for custom Bilsteins for the Wagoneer. and anything electronic. Holy hell. 9 months for a Dakota Digital Dash.
Ugh.
And you have to have one because I'm running a Holley Terminator X standalone system, and be able to talk to that. You either need to get this adapter that basically doesn't exist right now, or you get a Dakota Digital and it's a plug and play. So we decided to wait. But yeah, that's basically what got me into it. I grew up in Oregon. I'm from Bend, but I went to high school on the coast in Waldport, little ass town, 2,500 people, 400 kids in my school, high school. And there was very few things to do there. You get bored of fishing. Hunting was big year round, but the only thing to do was drink beer, and you usually needed a 4-wheel drive to get to where we would drink so we didn't get busted by cops. So I always had a Jeep.
It's a good use of the 4-wheel drive. Keep yourself out of trouble.
Hell yeah. And then you can sleep in the back or do whatever, and leave at your own accord, and you're not drinking and driving. And so
Exactly.
a lot of my redneck friends always had big lifted trucks and stuff. And we, when I didn't have to drive, I'd jump in the back of theirs in the bed, and everybody had square body Chevys or old 60s, 70s Ford pickups. I was like the outlier with the Jeep.
Well, what is your most embarrassing moment on the trail?
Ooh. Holy shit. I don't know if I've really had one yet.
Uh-oh.
That's one. You can't lie.
Famous
Yeah,
last.
I have a lot of embarrassing moments, but none of them been on the trail. They're usually at camp later.
Camp works too.
Camp, yeah, that works.
I've fallen into a fire a couple times. I've had pants rip, like really rip.
Were they your only pair of pants?
Actually, one time, yes. Most embarrassing moment. I got talked into trying chew for the first time, and I was already drunk. And it was like a long day of wheeling. It was nasty, muddy, and I got sick. And I went to this little creek bank, and I was throwing up over the creek bank, and the creek bank fell in underneath me and went all the way in.
Oh,
Yeah, that was real fun. So I had to sleep with my head outside of the tent that night. That was great.
woof.
That's probably my most embarrassing. But I actually, to be completely honest, I've been pretty lucky as far on the trail, like breaking stuff. I usually break at stuff on the dunes more than anything because I think it's just one of those like less risk factors, and I'll just send the hell out of it. And I still send it on the trail and stuff too, but I still keep that thing in my mind, like, hey, idiot, you got to drive this home. And a lot of the trucks that I go out and do and build are my daily drivers. Lately, I've been lucky enough to be building something that's not going to be a daily driver, but I won't pound the hell out of the Wagoneer, but once it's done, the Power Wagon is going to go through some hell. And I've got some plans for it too, so I want that thing to fly.
Nice. So, where is your favorite place to wheel?
I compartmentalize everything in my head to certain things, and if it's like just far as like just the sheer beauty and fun and like because I see something new every time I go in. I've been on every trail, but I love Death Valley. I love the history and the Americana that's involved with it. I like to be able to learn something when I'm out there too, and like every time I go into a mine or see some old buildings or something like that, it's like you just like kind of step back into time. I really like that, but I also I really like going into deep timber up in the high Sierras or up in Oregon somewhere. It doesn't even have to be technical. It's just beautiful and it's quiet and you're just away from everything and just enjoying that type of thing. Even though I do it a lot, I hate the dust out east. Even though there's so much cool shit to see, like the one we just did from Bend to Alvord, it's just a dust fest and you're taking months to get it out. And it gets really it's just a pain in the butt when you get home. And it can be cool, but you're breathing it the whole time. Everything smells like dust. Everything tastes like dust. It's just, you guys have been out to Christmas Valley enough. And I grew up in that whole area. My grandmother lives there. It's just dust and alkali the whole time and wind.
Yeah.
And there's so much cool
Get
stuff
out.
to see, but you have to go through all that garbage to, you kind of, it's one of those things like, I hope it's snowing and maybe a little bit of rain, and then it'll be palatable.
I get you with the dust. I hate dust when I'm out wheeling, especially on a long trip.
Yeah, I'm still blowing it out of my nose, and I'm just covered in it. And like I've showered twice. Any places that you want to go that you haven't gone to?
Yes, there's a lot. I really want to go up into BC.
I'm
There's
right
a
there
lot
with
of
you. Right there with
cool trails. Our original plan, actually, when we did Brotherhood of Brew, we decided to change the show up and kind of evolved into what Rogue Element is now. We wanted to do an overland trip from BC all the way to Nova Scotia and take as many back roads as possible through Canada. That's been like a huge bucket list item for me. The other one is I want to overland and go across the entire length of Mongolia in a full size.
So I'm gonna guess you watched The Long Way Round and you saw them wheeling in Mongolia and you're like, I want to do that too.
I watched that after a friend of mine guides fly fishing in Mongolia for taimen, which is like a ginormous trout.
Uh-huh.
It's like a 4.5 foot long trout. And he, after seeing pictures of him out there, and he's got some wheeling shots and stuff where he's out there in his Jeep. He had his Jeep shipped over because he lives there half the year. And he's like, dude, you got to come out here. You got the Road of Bones. You've got all this stuff. Your full size will make it. I see Unimogs out here all the time. And then I went into this deep ass rabbit hole in 21 and started like really, and we're going to do it. It's just a matter of time to get the funding involved with it. It's about a $250,000 trip. So yeah, to have two full size at the minimum, and we've got a couple of guys who own some companies that want to go with us and are willing to pay for some of the fees. So we're like, okay, so now there's three, and there's some trailers involved, and so it's the logistics of it is getting there is tough. I know the right people to be able to make it happen, but it's probably over a year and a half out. But it's something that's in the works with us because everybody who does it either does it on a motorcycle or a big ass Unimog. I haven't seen any of the in betweens, and there's so much stuff with Tacomas and Wranglers and everything out there. I want to see more of this crazy stuff with full size rigs.
Nice. Well, you mentioned it, so why don't we get started with it? And what started Rogue Element?
So I got my chops for filming in the hunting industry. It's one of the easiest ones to get into. It's although it sounds easy to hunt or to film hunting, it's actually probably the hardest. You're dealing with actors that don't want to cooperate. There's so many elements. You got to be quiet. You have to be unseen. Your scent has to be right. You play the wind. It's a ton of hiking out here on the West Coast where, I mean, it's easy to make a hunting show out on the East or Midwest because you just sit in a tree. But that's also hard on the creative side because it's hard to make that interesting to watch for an hour or half an hour, just sitting in a tree. So there's a give and take. But I was with a group of guys who I knew pretty well, and there's creative differences, and I decided to give up the company I spent 4 years building, and I gave it away and walked it away. And I wanted to do more in the off-roading scene, and overlanding had just started. There wasn't even, I don't even think people were calling, maybe they were just starting to call it overlanding. This was 2014, 2015. And I was just, at the time I had a built Jeep Wrangler, just dropped a Hemi in it. And I was like, cool, let's do some cool stuff with this. And I lived in LA at the time. And then I started talking to a couple guys I was in this other show with, and I said, hey, I'm bailing. If you want to come with me, I would love to have you. You guys are good. You're creative guys. You live close. Let's start with like some high-end films. Let's just make like a 15-minute film, do some film festival circuits, see where it goes. And mind you, it was still kind of hunting and like outdoor. And we brought some sponsors that we had with us. I didn't want to burn them. So I said, hey, listen, I'm walking away. You can come with me and I'll give you the same deliverables so I don't burn you. And let's make this happen. And they all came with us, and we did our first film, believe it or not, was actually, we went hog hunting and turkey hunting, and we didn't see anything. We got poison oak. It was about it. But we ended up just making like a culinary film. Like I was with my buddy Tony, and I was like, he's a good wild game chef, and he brought some bear meat with us, and I was like, hey, dude, let me just film me making a meal. Let's see where it goes. And that was like our first thing, and it kind of blew up. So we're like, okay, well, let's do some more stuff like that. Then we entered a film festival with a fly fishing film for steelhead called River of Steel, and it's still on Amazon. It's been on Amazon for like 4 years, and they keep renewing it. It just does really well, I guess. And well, it must be doing well. They pay me every month for it. But so we killed it with that. We won like 21 film festivals in the first year. We ended up donating like $14,000 or $15,000 to some nonprofits like Backcountry Hunters and Anglers and other stuff that help fight to keep public lands open. For us, everything that we do has to be public lands first before anything. We're conservationists on that end of things. So public lands and public hands. And so that kind of snowballed. We started making a bunch of hunting stuff, and then it got to a point where we were all like, this sucks. We're starting to like not enjoy hunting. We're always having to wait for the camera. It's hard already to hunt. It's even harder to film it. So we decided that let's move that on the back burner. Let's start introducing our followers more into the overland side. And it kind of hurt us. We didn't take off the way we wanted to, and then we just stopped overall. I started filming a documentary for me and a friend started shooting this documentary. We got this wild hair up our ass and started filming up in Humboldt County, which I filmed for 3 years on it, about missing persons and homelessness, violent crime rate in Humboldt County, which is insane. And we ended up both damn near having to do counseling because of the stuff we saw, and which we ended up just cutting cords on it, and it might come out one day, it might not, but that made it to where we weren't doing our YouTube anymore. But I was still filming my trips, I was still doing stuff, and then the pandemic hit, and that's when we were like, okay, we can't do anything with Brotherhood of Brew anymore. It's already on Amazon, which the pandemic was the best thing that could ever happen for that show. It just absolutely killed it. 74 million minutes viewed in 18 months, and in like, what was it, 30 countries. And but we couldn't get anybody to let us into film anymore. Everyone was like, well, we're not allowing people indoors. You can come, but you have to wear a mask, which is terrible TV. And we're just, and then my insurance company was like, we're not going to cover you guys unless you're all vaccinated. You're all have tested every single day. There has to be proof of it. And I'm like, that's just never going to work. So we decided to be like, okay, we're done. Let's figure something out. And that's when I sat on the couch and I started just taking notes. What's missing? What's missing in overlanding? What's missing in off-roading? What's missing in motorsports? And a lot of it was there's just no stories built into anything. It's like, hey, look at me while I go on this trip for a week or a month or whatever. And let me show you all the cool stuff I see. But they weren't like really telling any stories. They weren't like bringing people nobody's ever heard of before, or maybe companies in their history and their, being able to tell their story, what's their impact and footprint on this awesome community and lifestyle. So we started building storylines and scripts. Okay, so if we build a script, it's going to be completely organic and completely reality, but there still needs to be a script to it. What are we going to do? What's the trip? What's the start point? What's the end point? And that's kind of how Rogue Element really took its longest stride. And during that whole time, we started going on trips and building YouTube channels. And I think we put out over 100 episodes since the pandemic started. It's been a real slow burn as far as growth. Like, we do well, but subscriber count isn't probably where I'd like it to be. But we don't advertise. We don't do anything. It's all word of mouth. And we're late bloomers to social media. Like, our personal accounts were doing okay, but we really weren't building Rogue Element the way it should have been. We were so focused on building content and doing big production stuff that it's one of those hindsight regret things. I wish I would have started social media and been really aggressive with it, especially on Instagram. And I think we'd probably be faster. We're starting to kick some butt now. It's just taken a little while, and I think this series will really help us kind of catapult us into that realm of where we really should be, because I think we're putting out some really good content. It's a little different. We're not your dad's Overland show. We're not afraid to drop some F-bombs. We drink copious amounts of beer at camp. It's not like, we don't have voiceovers that lull you to sleep. It's a lot of punch you in the face type of stuff, and kind of, I think, more real world stuff. Like when stuff breaks on your truck and you're in the middle of nowhere and possibly no way out, you're throwing rocks and probably doing something to, kind of get the stress out. And I think that the failure of showing failure really resonates on social media, and that includes YouTube. But I think that drama is really what draws people in, and showing the realness of that is like super important. That's a part of storytelling.
Totally.
But, yeah, that's really the long version of what Rogue Element is and why we started. It's just we're missing stuff.
I kind of wanted to go back to talking about getting the story kind of scripted. How do you decide what the story is going to be before the trip even happens, and you see what happens on the trip?
That was like the biggest question we had for ourselves was, how are we going to storyline this but make it organic? And really, there's no way. The short answer is there's just no way. You can't. What happens. Now, you can have a schedule, and that's kind of more or less what it turned into, was a schedule. It's how do you tell the story of maybe the location or the people that you're with, and then let everything else play out. The one you guys watched, I had never met anybody there except my camera crew and Gene, the guy who drives the Audi. I didn't know anybody else. Never met him. When you guys see us pull out of Thurin Fabrications, that's the first time I met him. And so that storyline, like, it's crazy because even that first campfire scene, it seems like we've been friends forever. And that was like the cool thing that we were able to tell about, as you keep watching, everyone's just like, man, the camaraderie that comes along with this industry and this community is like so insane. And so you just play off of stuff like that. And that's where my director kind of comes in. He's taking notes the whole time while he's filming, and he's, putting stuff in his phone, and him and I are talking off camera about, okay, there's this and this, and we need to do this. And, and then there's surprises that come up, like Gene trying to make it up in his Audi on that hill climb, and he doesn't make it. We have no clue he's down there. We radioed for him just to walk up with his dogs when we went out to look at the aircraft wreck. And we can't, because you can't hear anything up there. There's wind and, that plateau. I think you guys one of you guys have been up there, seen your guys' show earlier today. And so we can't hear anything. Then we come to the tip of it. We drive down. We see this Audi stuck in the middle of the road. And we're like, what the heck's going on? And, so there's those things that clip into it. But as far as like storyline, it's not like a movie. You can't script this stuff, and if you do, it's going to come off looking really fake.
Kind of like Alaskan Off-Road Warriors, the fake fight.
Oh my God. Yeah. God. Yeah. It's and it's a shame that stuff exists. It exists in the hunting world. You'd be surprised how much stuff is scripted in the hunting world. And that was that's where I was like, all right, I'm out. I'm not doing this. And there's no, I don't know how I could go as a creative. I don't know how I could go to sleep at night just knowing like, yeah, put my name on that. It's okay. I mean, maybe the pay was good, but I know it's not. The hunting industry, it's a pay to play. You spend 6 figures creating a TV show, and then you write a check to the network to show it. They're not paying you. And the only 5% of shows you see on Outdoor Channel or Sportsman's are actually getting paid. They are selling ad spots. So this industry doesn't do that whatsoever. And that was like a big draw. I was like, okay, I remember getting paid from the motorsports industry when I was a photographer. Maybe if I picked up an actual video camera and started doing some stuff, maybe I could even make more. And it's still a struggle. I mean, I'm a small time, production house. We're not making huge dollars. And that's like, we've had, when we got influencers in on one of these films, that was our first thing. Hey, are we getting paid for this? And it's like, well, yes and no. It's it's not that type of deal. You know, I'm not Netflix coming out and being like, hey, here's some cameras and here's a, you know, $250,000 budget where you're paying everybody. It's like, well, hey, we've got this idea, and if you want to be a part of it, let's do this. And then, you know, if we blow up, then we're able to get people back in and do that type of deal. But it's indie filmmaking it's a grind, man. And the hardest grind is getting everything put together and getting the money for it. And it's, you know, this was 90% paid in-house, like out of my pocket. So it's trying to get money from companies during a pandemic when there's parts shortages and they're not able to like meet quotas or even sell, you know, they have no product to sell and people want to buy stuff. They don't have the money for that. They're laying people off, not, you know, writing checks for marketing.
So you've mentioned the docuseries. What's it called?
Divergent Pathways.
Nice. What inspired the name?
A thesaurus. It's I wanted something different. Everyone's like Rome or adventure or something to do with a direction, really. And I wanted something a little bit different. So yeah, I mean, a lot of it was done through the thesaurus. I kind of took what everybody else was using and tried to change the wordplay around. And then I started thinking about it. It had like 3 other names before. And then after, I think it was probably maybe a week into the first like actual production meetings that we went to, I was like, I saw the word divergent and I was like, I don't know how I can make that work because it's exactly what we are. I was like, that's like, it fits into what we're doing. We're such a shit show. Half the time we're out filming and doing all of our YouTube stuff that, and nothing goes to plan. We're always diverting to do something different. That needs to be a part of this title. And we kind of threw it around at a campfire and Pathways came up and I was like, Divergent Pathways, that sounds cool. Let's just roll with that. I'm just tired of dealing with this and let's make it stick. And then it kind of just started sticking and threw it on a media deck. And, you know, after a month or so, it actually kind of fit. And then especially after the first, our first episode, we have a rig breakdown in the middle of Death Valley. I had to tow it out 74 miles into Vegas and to get fixed. And that was like, well, it doesn't get more divergent than that. That's it. That's the name.
That's awesome. It's definitely different because I saw it. I'm like, all right, it's different, and it's like it's not something overland or like you said, Rome or adventure, and so it's like draws me.
The thought behind that too also was originally the way Pathways came up is all of our friends who we did the first episode with, we've all met through different paths of life, right? We all walk different paths of life. We've met through different paths. That fit really good. And then it not having overland or adventure or something in it, I can expand this and go into all motorsports, which is basically the plan if we can sell this. If we can get a bigger production house or Netflix or somebody who actually has money that likes to pay, Amazon is notoriously cheap. If we can make this, we wanted to do 2 or 3 of these 3-part series a year where we could go off and do maybe supercars or muscle cars or just rock crawling or, do some stuff for like Corva and off-road associations and what they're doing for public lands and maybe get one in for, racing of some sort and maybe motocross or just motorcycles for one. And it kind of like opened up this big, huge thing. And my business mind was like, okay, how do we make this bigger than what it is instead of pigeonholing ourselves into just overlanding. We didn't want to be just overlanding because there's only so many stories you're going to be able to tell in this.
Yeah, no, it definitely leaves you open to a lot more things.
Absolutely.
So, who do you guys have on your crew involved in most of the filming?
So Rogue Element itself is basically myself and Christian Ramirez, who he goes by Bear Wagon, or I think he changed his name to Bear Trails on Instagram. He drives the 2018 4th Gen Power Wagon that's in all of our YouTube stuff. And he's in 2 episodes of this because one episode, it literally spent 4.5 months in the shop. It's on its 3rd transmission, I think, since January. And not because the transmission itself is crap, it's because the people that have been fixing it are crap. And they were fixing what was broken, they weren't fixing what was causing it. So it's actually in the, I think, middle of a buyback. But there's Christian, myself. Originally was Steve Toms, who we always call Sound Guy Steve. He's in all of our Brotherhood of Brew stuff. He's just doing mainly our hunting stuff now. He lives up in Weed. Great guy. And then kind of our honorary member, he's not really technically Rogue Element, he's kind of on his own, is Gene. And he's different all-road on Instagram. He drives the Audi all-road that you see in all of our stuff. And he's a full-time photographer, awesome dude. And he's kind of like he goes on everything with us. And, he's family. So, but he's not, I guess you could say he's a technical member. We've never even sat down like, hey, are you a part of Rogue Element? It's just one of those, hey, we're going on a trip. You coming or what? And so grab your dogs. We're getting out of here. But yeah, that's basically Rogue Element in the whole.
So you guys, you mentioned Gene and his Audi. You've got some uncommon vehicles in the group, including a full-size Dodge Power Wagon. I mean, most of the internet content is, Toyota, Jeep here, and now you'll see some Broncos. Like, how are they performing off-road?
Well, we pull all the ones you just talked about out all the time. And it's on camera to prove it. But for us, and mind you, I had a 5th gen 4Runner before my first Cummins, which was, so I've had that was in 2017. It was the worst. I've had 2 Toyotas. I'll never own one again. Both were constantly in the shop. That one had so many recalls that I ended up making them buy it back. And I bought a used 2015 Cummins, which I loved. We called that the Warthog. It's in a lot of our content. It was badass. It just didn't have enough features in the interior really for me to keep it. I was tired of fighting my wife on trips with not having dual air and a bunch of other stuff. And it came down to where I wanted something a little tiny bit more capable, and I was willing to give up the gas mileage for it. But I ended up selling it, and then I got roped into buying a Raptor, a 2nd gen Raptor, which 31 check engine lights in a year. I was done with that. Been on a tow truck more times than I'd like to admit. It was the funnest thing I've ever owned to drive when it ran right, but it never ran right. So got rid of it, and then I got the Power Wagon. So with Christian having his Power Wagon and me being able to drive it and stuff, I was like, cool, I'll do it. But I want the 5th gen with the 8-speed in it, so I don't have transmission issues and have better gas mileage. And it's actually been awesome. It's been a really good rig. And I wanted to stick with the full-size thing. I need the room. One, I have 3 kids. I also carry camera crews. Generally, camera crews don't have rigs that can go off-road. So they come in with us, and we bring tents and cots and everything else. And I mean, as you guys can see in that episode, I'm pass loaded. And since then I've changed my rear springs out and put spacers. And it's been like this. I mean, this truck's going on its 4th iteration since I bought it last October. So I've actually think I've had it a year now, as of last week. But for us, like, having the full-size thing is really beneficial to us in more ways than one. There's only a few trails we haven't been able to go down because of our width or our length. Like the Rubicon, we can't do the full Rubicon unless we want to come out with some dents. I mean, we could make it. It's just there's going to be damage. I've been up the Rubicon probably 30 times in various Jeeps and motorcycles and everything else. But and then having Gene coming with his Audi, it really limits us where we can go. So there's some, like, we're getting ready to go on a trip next month up into Oregon and probably up into the Owyhees, and he can't go because he won't make the river crossings. So, we got to pick and choose where we go. The Death Valley one, which is our last trip that we went, it'll be episode 1 of Divergent Pathways. You'll see him and a lifted Tiguan came with us, and they struggled. The Tiguan came out with a bunch of body damage. He sent it. Holy cow, that guy sent it, man. He's one of my best friends. He's one of my groomsmen. And we'll put it this way, 6 months before this trip happened, that Tiguan was lowered, and he was living in Colorado. And then after that, he stopped. He went kind of living on the road for a little bit. He lives in Missouri now, but he went, lifted his Tiguan, wrapped it, put a tent on it, everything, and he was up sending it with us in Death Valley within 6 months of us He met and was a camera guy for me at the Overland Expo Mountain West, and he saw all the rigs and got the fever. And he's like, "Cool, I'm lifting my Tiguan." So I was like, "All right, let's go." But I like the uniqueness of it. I mean, there's not a lot really unique about a Power Wagon except that it's bigger. And when you see them out on trails, it's just really cool seeing a convoy of big ass rigs out on the trail, especially when we're passing, guys that are in Tacomas or Jeeps and stuff, and we're almost twice the size of them and going down the same trails. It's just really fun to watch, and it's fun to be a driver because you're going down stuff. They're like, "Oh, you won't fit, you won't make it." We're like, I'm going to spend 8 hours buffing this thing at the end of the day because the trail's so small, but we're going to go through it.
Jeremy, I think you're muted.
Yeah, you're muted.
Yep, you're right. I'm muted. Sorry about that. Have you guys have any setback? Did you guys have any setbacks while you guys were filming or in the post-production?
We've had a bunch of setbacks in filming. When Christian's rig went down in Death Valley, that was a huge setback. That put us back 2 days. We didn't get to do a bunch of stuff in Death Valley we wanted to do. And AAA was a big thanks to that. They left us stranded on the side of the road for 7 hours without phone calls, anything. And I just said, screw it, dude. Put the kinetic rope back on it and towed them all the way from Shoshone to Vegas. And that was already from the middle of Death Valley. I pulled them into camp that night and then had to pull them all the way back out to the roads. I broke my rear sway bar doing that because he slacked on me a little bit and I didn't notice it. And then we went taut and it jerked my rig around and it broke my rear sway, one of the end links, which I didn't even notice it until I was up on a trail, or I was up on a rock crawl and one of my spotters noticed it. That was kind of a setback. Post-production, there really hasn't been much setback except my computer wasn't fast enough. The laptop I have is the shit. I mean, it's the best one Max, Apple sells, but it's just not enough. I mean, you figure we average 5.5 terabytes per episode of footage, and it's all 5 and 6K. So when you're shooting, those files are huge, and it requires a lot of RAM. So I had to buy a whole new computer. The one I'm on now is one of the new Mac Studios, and it is mind-blowingly faster than, like, probably quadruple faster than what I was with now. I have no lag times. I have no issues, no nothing. Although I was rendering, when I was rendering out the first full version, actually the version you guys saw, I couldn't get it to export. Ended up being some plug-in issues and some other things that took me probably about 10 hours to fix. Calling everybody I knew. There was no help on YouTube or anywhere else. Adobe was zero help as usual. And then my other editor, him and I, we were on the phone for hours running through trying to figure it out. And then it just dawned on me. I was like, I'm going to try something. I saw where it was stopping in my timeline, and I went in and looked at the footage and took some filters out and some other stuff and stabilizers. And then I was like, okay, I need the stabilizer, so I'll have to figure that out. But rendered it again, it went through, and I was like, okay, cool. I found the culprits of it, and I just have to figure the workaround. But that was like 2 days lost. That's been the biggest screw up, really. But to be completely honest, it's gone so smooth that it's made me nervous.
Yeah, I get how that can happen.
Yeah, and it's a lot of that has been because of who I hired on this. Evan Pollock, I can't even thank that guy enough, like, for coming on with us. The mastermind, Pollock Pictures. I mean, he's just the stuff he's been doing this year has been awesome. It's been fun to bring him into the overland world of things. And we brought on Dakota Huntley of Huntley Motion. He was the camera guy for us for the episode you guys just watched. He was my second camera guy. He was phenomenal to work with. And then we've got Welcome to the Outdoors. That's what Braxton Clavins, the shit. Guys, he's a damn mountain goat. He makes me tired watching him. This guy runs with a camera, runs. He'll put it on a gimbal and just sprints. He'll sprint for like 30 minutes at a time. I mean, this guy is like, we're like, hey, where's Braxton? And everybody looks up and he's like up on top of this mountain in Death Valley. We're like, oh, what is he doing? And then you look at the shots, you're like, oh shit, that was awesome. And it's having these guys do that, plus, our guys are doing fill-in shots here and there. I'm doing stuff here and there. I'll fly a drone, or Evan will fly a drone, or Christian. And we're just, we kind of are wearing many hats. We're all sound guys. And because, we had to make up for a lot of not having a huge budget for this. If I had 50 grand, 60 grand an episode, we would be putting out some ridiculous stuff. But it gets expensive fast, especially with gas right now here where I live is almost $7 a gallon. So that kind of puts a halt on things. We're like, we did have to move out the last episode. We had to wait for gas to get a little bit cheaper because some of the people coming with us were like, it's just too much. And then, actually, this is the biggest screw up. I totally forgot about this. The third episode was supposed to be in the Olympic Peninsula. We wanted to get all 3 West Coast states. And I called a biologist up there and a park ranger, and they said, good luck finding a spot to camp. Everything is filled. There's so much stuff going on. We've had to close a couple of roads because of homeless people, like just laying trash out everywhere. And he said, I would just avoid this spot. I'm not saying that to keep people out. We want you to be up here. But if you're filming and you're trying to come up and like show the beauty of this place, you're not going to be able to do that. Then I watched, I don't remember what YouTube it was. It was some YouTube, literally 3 days. It hit YouTube 3 days before I made that phone call. And they left a day early because they couldn't find any place to camp. And they had footage driving down these roads, and it was just camp. And it was all primitive. And then if you look for reservations on like pay to camp, they're all full for months. So I was like, damn it. So we ended up staying in Oregon. We went out on the Oregon coast again.
Yeah, it's the peninsula has been, since COVID, has been just booked. Everyone decided they wanted to pick up overlanding and camping and van life this. And
yeah,
the Olympic Peninsula is just so beautiful. It's a great spot to go.
It really is.
And apparently to throw your trash as well. I'm sure the Gambler 500 guys will be out there picking up for quite a while.
Yeah, we surprisingly, when we were in Oregon, we only found like one spot that there was like kind of a dump going on in a rock quarry, which is pretty normal anytime. That's I don't know why. It just has always been. I grew up around. That's where we usually partied, was rock quarries, and there would always be trash. But I will say that the places we did go in Oregon were pretty clean. I mean, Death Valley's always super clean. Almost nothing ever out there. But even when we went to Bend to Alford, we really didn't see any trash for the most part. We've been pretty fortunate in those areas, and I think those are also, I wouldn't say high traffic areas, but there's a decent amount of people going out there, and they're kind of doing their end to, pick stuff up when they see it. And we always do too.
So where do you want to see Rogue Element go in its lifespan?
Yeah, man, we talk about that a lot. My wife talks about that a lot. I mean, we would ultimately like to be a successful YouTube channel by the end of the day. And that isn't saying that like we like where it's going now. I absolutely love the full-time full production stuff. It's a lot more creative. It's a lot more fun. You have more control over it, but it's also a lot of work. There's a lot behind. It's expensive. YouTube stuff for us, it's just gas money and food, it's because it's us 3 doing it. For the most part, I film it. There's more of just me self-filming stuff than anything, but when I get a chance to where I don't have to drive, I'll hop in one of the other guys and I'll film the whole thing. Like we did a thing called What is Overlanding, which is kind of a poke at that stupid ass question that everybody asks. Well, what is overlanding to you? Who cares? Everybody's asked that stupid question. There's 100 videos. If you type it in, what is overlanding? We did it to knock on all those idiots. I call them overland dorks. And I went super cinematic with it, and I brought my Black Magics out. I used a lot of gimbals and drones and stuff. And I was like, it was a week before my surgery. I had really bad shoulder surgery last year. I'm still about 90% of where I should be a year and a month later. But I just wanted to be creative, and I'll do that with the guys every once in a while. I'll just jump in and go with them, and I'll sleep on the ground like a poor person, as we say, and have fun with it. But I like the creativeness and the freeness of YouTube, right? And it allows us to kind of get involved with more people that we don't know, and like you guys or other groups, and collaborate and just do a lot of fun stuff and show people our world, and we get to see theirs. Which we've been able to do that with the full production, but it's just the behind the scenes of the full production. It's, it's a lot of work. If we get picked up, I'd love to do 1 to 2 of those a year. With the right budget, it makes it a lot easier. We don't have to spread it out for 6 months because I'm spending 2 to 3 months trying to get funding or saving up and doing, more jobs with my media company to save up portions of that to be able to pay for cameramen. And that sucks because I'm not getting paid at the end of the day. I'm just getting enough to make this out there, which we're hoping that enough people see it, that it gets us to that level. Or our YouTube grows or our social media grows enough to where we're able to bring more quality sponsors in that aren't, they're not afraid to really get the checkbook out and they get a lot out of it too. But that's ultimately where we would like to be, I think, is big enough on YouTube to be able to do this full scale stuff. And I think it's there.
Nice. Yeah, it helps with the great cinematography for the YouTube, and then just natural.
It just sucks. There's not enough out there doing it. Like there's a lot of guys doing drone shit, and then they ruin it with this really so we went down to the to the riverbed and I slowly put my tent up and it's like, dude, I'm just snoozing. I'm like, oh my God, let me guess, you're gonna make food next and eat it, and so we can all hear it. And this big ASMR thing is big now where I have to hear everything. And I'm just like, dude, I don't go to movie theaters because I don't like hearing people eat. I don't want to watch you on YouTube eating something. And I'm trying to get away from that. It's literally, I can tell you right now what 90% of Overland content on YouTube is. Drive to an area, stop at the trailhead, tell you where you're going to go, get back in the vehicle, a bunch of different shots, set up camp, make food, eat it, a really shitty shot, low light of campfire or something, or drinking something alone or looking off into the distance, waking up, making coffee, making breakfast. Oh, we're going to go home now. This was a really fun trip. That's 90% of everything you see on YouTube. And it drives me effing nuts. I can't stand it. And that's where we really wanted to make something different. But the problem with that is people aren't ready for different. So that's why we have 5,100 subscribers, not 51,000 subscribers. If we stood in line and still did that, which we have a couple out there that we played with, we're like, hey, let's do the dork shit and see if it works. And we don't fit in line with it. I want to do something different, show you something different. We had a stretch here where we did a bunch of stuff with pre-runners. We ran with Terra Crew, did a bunch of stuff with them and Dirt Design, and went to Pismo Takeover, did a bunch of stuff with them, even shot a pilot that's still sitting here. We shot a pilot down in Arizona with KC Lights and Terra Crew, Darren Parsons, and the Eisenhower brothers. And it's still sitting here. We're shopping it. If that goes big, we could have a full TV show. If it doesn't, if within the next 3 months, if that doesn't go anywhere, we're just going to put it on YouTube and have some fun with it. But that's an hour-long show that we shot full. That was in the April of 2021. So still everybody wearing masks everywhere. We weren't on the show, but went through all the precautions of everything and red tape and all that stuff to make it happen. And it turned out really good. But we've been trying to sell it for a year. So it's been tough, especially if you don't know somebody, when you're selling into stuff like Netflix and big time original stuff like Amazon Original. It is so extremely hard to become that. We've turned down deals from A&E and Discovery Channel on it because they wanted to own our brand. And we just said, no, it's not worth it to us. Because at the end of the day, they do run it for one season, they can it, and they own you. And you make no money. So, nope, no thank you.
So, where will we be able to find you? When's Divergent Pathways coming out? And before that, where can everyone find you ahead of time?
Divergent Pathways comes out on Amazon Prime October 19th. So that's when you'll be able to see everything. Granted, there's no issues. They've already pushed our time back twice. We were supposed to be on the 29th of last month, but they pushed us out to the 19th. What I think is better, it's actually them looking out for us. Their ratings are terrible in September. You have football starting, kids going back to school, all that garbage. So I think the dust is settling. I think this is going to be a good time for us. That's the only place you'll be able to see it for probably the first couple months. And then after that, we'll figure out where it goes. It'll eventually make its way to YouTube. Brotherhood of Brew It's free on YouTube right now. We ran out of our 18-month contract, never renewed with them. And then it's for free on YouTube. And we don't really push it or anything. We'll be filming second season probably next year. And I'm adding my best friend as a co-host. We're changing up the format of it. But other than that, Rogue Element on Instagram, Rogue Element Adventure is the name on there because some clown won't give me Rogue Element. And then YouTube. So youtube.com/Rogue Element is the easiest way to get there. If not, you just look for the blue eagle or the green eagle, and that's us. And we have, oh my gosh, we probably have 80 hours of content on there. Probably more than that, actually. There's a lot. And then you can see the behind the scenes of the first 2 episodes of Divergent Pathways on there. Once I should be done next week with absolutely everything. And then you'll be able to see the behind the scenes to the last one we did. And it's kind of crazy how this came up. The first episode is pretty fast paced through Death Valley. The storylines are incredible. The characters we have involved, like Harry Schoen, Jenny Simons. She was a Team USA skier.
I know Jenny.
Oh yeah, Dallas Off Road.
Yeah.
She's the shit, man. That girl just blows my mind what she's doing at her age. Such a good person, and just a badass. But she's with us. It's really fast paced, and the one you guys watch, it's a little more of a slow burn, more methodical, very scenic, very cinematic. And then the third one's just run and gun. It's on the Oregon coast. It has the crazy. Like, I can't even tell you, like, without giving it away. I can't even tell you how crazy it gets, and like the left turns it takes. It's really crazy. Never in a million years would I thought how it ended the way it ended. And I think it was like the perfect send off for the series, but you'll be able to see and that's the reason I'm not dropping the behind the scenes. I have all that footage. I've been sitting on it because we vlog every single one. When we're going on these trips, I'm vlogging when the big cameras aren't out, and we're able to tell that story and do behind the scenes. You get to see the camera guys in action. You get to see all the stuff you don't get to see in the actual documentary. And then we put that up on our YouTube channel. So yeah, you can see the first 2 on there. But other than that, that's about it. We try to put something out every week, whether it's tech stuff or whatever. You can start seeing some studio work. I've been setting up my my studio. This is just like where I edit, but I have an actual in my basement of my house. I've got a studio set up. I'm going to start doing a lot of tech stuff and gear talk and just random stuff, YouTube live stuff. So we're going to start ramping up YouTube big time. We want to do multiple stuff per week, probably starting in December.
Nice. Good way to push it. Well, we definitely appreciate you coming on, Jeff.
Dude, we appreciate you guys having us, man. This is awesome, and especially on short notice.
I made it happen. It's easy enough to do sometimes. Sometimes, not always. But yeah, and I'm looking forward to it. We'll definitely push out the first episode, sharing it on our Facebook and stuff, so everyone can see it.
Yeah, definitely. We really appreciate that. And we'll put this stuff up for you guys, and we're stoked to be a part of this.
Yeah, maybe one of these days you'll make it up here to the peninsula. Jeremy lives on the peninsula. He can. Worst case scenario, you can camp in his backyard.
Not much to my backyard.
Yeah, we'll come set some stuff on fire. It's all good. You got anything to jump? We've been doing that a lot lately and breaking stuff. No, we do want to take a trip up there soon.
Yeah, it's gorgeous if you can. Now's a good time because all the yahoos have stopped camping for the year.
The leaves are getting ready to turn too.
Yes.
I used to live in Portland, so we would go up every once in a while. It's one of my favorite places, and that's why I wanted to film there.
Yep.
Definitely the time to come is in the fall.
Fall and winter. Yeah.
Fall.
Might have to make that happen soon.
Yep. Well, before we go ahead and close out, we just want to say thanks to everyone who listens to us weekly, and also to those who watch us live on YouTube or Twitter or Twitch or Facebook. We really appreciate you guys. Please share us with your friends. That's what really helps us grow, is that word of mouth. And God bless America.
Don't forget to visit Patriot Patch and join the Patch of the Month Club. Check out our Gaia affiliate link for up to 40% off. Also, don't forget to head over to Warren Medical Gear Outfitters and Colby Valve to see all their great gear. We're a proud part of the Firearms Radio Network. Got a comment or question? Send it to us through our webpage at firearmsradio.net or through our social media channels by searching for Off-Road Podcast. Also, you can listen to us live at overlandradio.com Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. When off-road, please remember to have fun, tread lightly, be safe, and courteous. Thanks for listening.
Gotta go full send.